You know, in the last 2 years, we have become more isolated from one another and life in general. And I feel like we're all craving connection, which is why I wanted to do this class on Zoom tonight, where I can see you and hear you talk to me and we can interact. But I totally understand Maggie being under the weather and Larita on the phone, but we'll just dive in. And it's 6 o'clock and I want to respect your time. I want to thank you for making the time to be here and learn what you can about your bones and what you can do about them. And I think you're going to hear some surprising things tonight. You've already heard a couple surprising things. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I do have some slides. I'm going to tell you why I'm here tonight. And I can't share my screen just yet because I'm on the wrong one. Sorry, hold on. There we go. Technology is always a bit of a stretch, right? Here we go. So yes, I am here tonight to share information about how you can maintain or improve your bone health. But information alone, you guys, isn't going to change anything. It's what you do with the information. And the whole point of learning how to create and maintain and build healthy, strong bones is so that you can maintain your independence and your mobility. I don't know anyone who wants to end up in a nursing home because they fell and broke their hip, or because they're so weak that they can't get themselves to the bathroom anymore. And so really what this is about, it's not really a talk about bones. Yes, that's what we're going to focus on. It's about how to keep yourself where you want to be, doing what you want to do, not afraid to go out and do things because you're afraid of having a fracture. Can I ask if anyone here has had any fractures? You can just put that in the chat if you wish. Has anyone had any bone fractures? I know several of you already shared that you have osteoporosis or at least osteopenia, which is the early stages of bone loss. If you've already had a fracture, that's even more concerning. And it makes you uncertain about going out and doing things, right? Because you're afraid of having another fracture. Well, I want to introduce you to Brian. He is actually someone that I took care of before I started functional medicine. And one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about bone health. You see, osteoporosis doesn't just affect women, it affects more women than men. And I work with a lot of women, but Brian came in because he had fallen off a ladder and he didn't fall 12 feet. He fell just a couple of feet, and he had broken his hip. Now, Brian, you can tell from his picture, he's not an old guy at all. And when I first met him, I was still doing traditional medicine, as I had been for many years. But I did wonder, how could a person like this with a relatively minor fall have suffered a hip fracture? And it affected his ability to work. That had all kinds of ramifications for his family, his confidence, his financial future. All of those things were affected by his fall and his fracture. And I said, Brian, has anybody ever checked to see if you have osteoporosis? And he said, no, why would they? And I said, well, because this is a relatively minor injury to cause a fracture. So we did, and we found out indeed Brian had osteoporosis, and he also had other autoimmune diseases too. So I'm going to explain all of that. This class is for you. It's about what you have going on. Many of you have already shared what you have going on. Thank you, Donna, for just joining. We already are diving in. And some of you have already shared that you have osteopenia or osteoporosis, and you want to know, what can you do? Maybe you've been told to take a medication and that's all the options you've been given. Or some of you have been told to exercise in various forms, or to start taking calcium or not to take calcium. There's conflicting information out there, right? But you want to know how to keep your bones strong. Maybe you're already on medication and you've done a little research and you're worried about the potential long-term effects. Can I ask how many of you are actually on medication for bone health already, like Fosamax, or Actonel, or Boniva, or Prolia? Anybody taking any of those medications? You can type in the chat, or you can just tell me if you are. Well, I'm guessing at least a few of you are. And if you've already had a fracture, you may be worried about where that could lead to. You may have heard some statistics. There's some pretty significant statistics about somebody who's had a hip fracture and what happens. 50% of those people lose their independence and mobility permanently. So, and there's a higher rate of death within 2 years of a hip fracture as well. So it's not a small thing. Now you might think, well, there's not that many people who have osteoporosis, right? Not that many people have to worry about it. I'm so glad that most of you, hopefully all of you, have not had a fracture yet. But here's the honest truth, is this is actually a huge problem that's getting bigger and bigger. As our population in general ages, the problem of osteoporosis is getting better. Bigger. So in the United States, this information comes from the National Osteoporosis Foundation. Over the age of 50, more than half of people have already started having low bone mass or osteoporosis. And that was costing $19 billion in 2017. And within just a couple, 2-3 years, they estimate that that's going to go up to $25 billion. And in 2017, there were over 2 million fractures, and they're expecting that that's going to continue to go up. So this is not a small problem. It's a big problem. And it's not just the financial cost, it's the cost that it takes to take care of you and that you're spending to try to maintain your bone health. So welcome, a couple of people just joined, Joy and someone else. I'm not sure what your name is, but welcome. And here is the information about fractures. So 20% of people who have a hip fracture die. That's 1 out of 5 people with a hip fracture die within 1 year. That is crazy high, if you ask me. And over the age of 50, 1 in 2 women will have a fracture and 1 in 4 men. Well, that's Brian. Hopefully it's none of you yet. The problem is this is not diagnosed accurately, and it's not treated accurately most of the time. So if you're kind of a visual person, take a look at this graph. What this graph is showing, which is from the International Osteoporosis Foundation, it's showing that our population is aging dramatically. Between 2010 right here and 2030, the percent of, they call it the dependency ratio. That means the number of people that are dependent on someone else for care per 100 people that are working. It's going to jump from 10 to over 30 in that 20-year span. These are the people that are already being affected. So bottom line is, this is a massive problem for both pain and suffering, the cost of it, and just the sheer numbers of people affected. So here's what the conclusion of the International Osteoporosis Foundation is. They say osteoporosis can be treated and fractures prevented. Well, hear me. I agree 100%. The problem is the traditional approach to treating osteoporosis and preventing fractures is something like this. Something like a medication. And right now, Prolia is one of the most prescribed medications for osteoporosis, but there are others. Now, I'm going to stop my screen share for a minute because I need you to all hear me. I am not against medication. I am not against traditional medicine. And I'm not putting down any doctors nor the treatment that you might be on. Because I'm not treating you, I cannot tell you what you should do tonight as far as medication. But I am going to speak the truth to you and share with you why it is so important that you truly understand what's going on with your bone health and what some of the potential risks might be. Now, there could be an indication that someone really should be on one of these medications. I have recommended people take them, but many people are not even given another option. They're not even told that there's something else. So let's take a look at what might be driving this. And I bet you guys can guess one of the reasons why medications are so frequently prescribed. Anyone have a guess they want to throw out there into the chat box? Well, one of the reasons is because it makes the drug companies a lot of money. So this chart actually comes from an investing company called The Motley Fool. But what it's showing you is the revenue from a company called Amgen. Well, Amgen is the company, the pharmaceutical company that makes the medication I just showed you. They make Prolia. Prolia hit the market somewhere around 2010. And you can see between 2010 and 2013, they were making a lot of money. Now, since 2013, this number has only continued to increase. This is between 18 and 19 billion in 2013. Now, these numbers are not easy to find. They are not well publicized because they don't really want you to know. But this graph shows you the overall money that's being spent on bone health. And it is going up every year. This is between 2017 and 2027. And you can see how much these numbers are going up. These different colors are different types of medications. The light purple one here is the Prolia. So this chart is already past where it had that big boom, so to speak. So bottom line is they're making a lot of money and they want you to keep taking these medications. So if you're wondering now, what right do I have to be talking to you about bone health? Why do I care so much about bone health? Let me tell you just a little bit about my story. And it actually starts with my grandma Helen. My grandma Helen, my middle name is Lane, after her name. She was my mom's mother, and the picture on the left here is my mom at her high school graduation and her parents on either side. So here's Grandma Helen way over here on the left. She was a very vivacious person with a lot of personality. However, she was one of those quiet people, but boy, did she have a strong personality. She was incredibly artistic and talented and a hard worker. What I want you to notice in this picture on the left, so this picture was approximately 1965, somewhere around there. She was the same height as my mom, and my mom is the same height as me, approximately. Now, just my favorite picture of my grandma and grandpa, they went on a trip to San Francisco. Well, by age 45, there were clues that my grandma Helen was in trouble. Now, this picture here is from when I was about 12 years old. We went on a very adventurous trip and we had to ford a river and we did this big long hike and she got her boots full of water and that's how she emptied them, just like that. She was a fun, active woman. But by 45, she had to have all her teeth removed. Well, that's a strong indication that your bone health is in trouble. And at 70, she fell walking on the driveway, just a very simple, low impact fall. She fractured her wrist and she was never able to heal that fracture. She was never able to play the piano again, and music was her life. And we found out, obviously, at that point, that she had osteoporosis, and her osteoporosis progressed over the next 25 years and eventually killed her. Because you see, she lived for 25 more years. She lived until she was 95 years old. But she had such severe osteoporosis that she literally crumbled to this tiny, tiny little person. Here she is in the middle of this picture. She has shrunk so much because her bones are crumbling that she has to sit on the knee. These are her 6 kids around her. And my mom down here on the left, or on the right here. She literally weighed about 80 pounds. She was breaking bones by simply having to have a cough or a sneeze. That's how fragile and terrible her bones were. She was in so much pain all the time, and yet she was still completely mentally with it and otherwise healthy. But she could not sustain that. And it was a terrible journey over the last 25 years of her life to see her lose more and more ability to do things she loved, including music and crafting and hiking and being active. She became essentially bedridden because of her severe osteoporosis. So I knew that I was at risk, because you've probably all heard family history is a risk. So I knew I was at risk. And at age 48, I decided, you know what? I wasn't menopausal yet then, but I thought, I've got to find out. I did a bone DEXA scan, and guess what? It showed that I was already becoming osteopenic. Now, when I had that scan done, I was alarmed, but I wasn't totally shocked because I knew my family history. Here's where I got alarmed. My physician at the time, and she's somebody I've known for a long time. I respect her. She's a good physician. The only thing she told me was, well, you should consider getting on a medication like Fosamax, and you should make sure you're taking your calcium. That's it. And I thought, there has got to be more. And what about all the side effects of Fosamax? Because when you take Fosamax, you have an increased risk of fractures. You have an increased risk of esophageal problems. You have an increased risk of necrosis of the jaw. That's where your jaw just disintegrates. I did not want to have anything to do with that. And so I dove in to the research on truly what was causing osteoporosis. And osteoporosis is not just an inevitable result of going through menopause or being an older woman. It's not, just like Brian. So I dove into the research and I realized there was so much more that most people didn't have any idea about. And I determined not only to do something about my own bone health, but to help others, because no one, not anyone in their right mind ever wants to end up here. No one, because you can no longer take care of yourself. So what I did is I actually created a course, and it's called Healthy Bones, Healthy You. And I want to offer you that course and access to that course tonight. But before you even think about that, I want to tell you what's in this. So tonight's going to be a little preview, because even if I spent 2 hours with you tonight, I wouldn't be able to cover everything you need to know to create healthy bones. Here's what I want you to know. Yes, you can turn your bone health around, and you do not have to take a medication, although there may be some cases where it's indicated temporarily. What you need to know is the right information. So Brian took my course, and I was so honored that he took my course. And here's what he said. He said, I would recommend this to anyone worried about their bones. The variety of topics covered was great, and the final session brought it all together. He says, the body is so amazing, and there is so much I have control over. You are not just dependent on what your doctor tells you to do or what somebody else is telling you to do. So I'm going to spend a minute here on why our traditional medical system is failing people and why it's not getting to the root of what's going on, especially with bone health, but also things like autoimmune disease and many of the other things that we do deal with. The first thing is, when I went to medical school, I was taught how to take care of emergencies in crisis, just like most doctors are taught. Now, here's what a crisis looks like. You come home, you see the sink overflowing, water going everywhere. That's a crisis, right? You got to do something about it. Well, here's an approach to managing the crisis. You can get out the mop bucket. You can start mopping up the overflowing water. But does anybody see a problem with this picture? I got to make sure you guys are out there awake. Susan's eating, which is great. Well, the problem is you could keep mopping all day if you haven't fixed what's going on here in the sink, right? You could mop all year, all your life. And unfortunately, without fixing, not only turning off the water, but fixing the drain, you're never actually fixing the problem. You're treating the symptom. Well, all too sadly, that's what we've been taught in medicine, is to manage the crisis and mop up the overflowing water. And that's what medications are primarily doing. Now, again, like I said at the beginning, I do prescribe medication when they're necessary. The problem is most medications are treating symptoms, including the medications traditionally used for osteoporosis. I'm going to explain why they're not adequate. Here's a big reason why so many medications are prescribed. I already covered that. The World Health Organization knows that most prescriptions are not actually taking care of the problem. They said 90% of all diseases prevalent today. That means 9 out of 10 chronic diseases that we're dealing with are not being actually fixed with prescriptions or even sometimes with surgeries. I've had people come in and say, well, I had my gallbladder out because they told me that was the problem. But after my gallbladder out, I still had the same problems. Well, the surgery didn't fix the problem. It managed a crisis. The other big reason is that insurance drives what most doctors can do. In fact, to practice in traditional medicine, you have to sign a contract so that you can be reimbursed. And Medicare sets the standard. Even if you have Cigna or Aetna or Blue Cross or whatever you have, Medicare sets the standard. And do you know what Medicare says about getting healthy? Let me show you. Medicare says that anything that is going to help you prevent disease or promote health, if it's going to help prolong or enhance the quality of your life, well, it's not considered medically necessary. Wait. What that means is if you want to work on your health, they're not going to pay for it. So our insurance is not really health insurance, you guys. It is sick insurance, and we need it. And I hope you have it, but I hope you never have to use it, because it's never going to get you well. It's only going to take care of you in a crisis. And what happens is people end up on more and more medications, and they still keep getting sicker and sicker and end up in places like nursing homes. Now, it's not just the patients and you guys that are frustrated, it's the physicians too. More burned out and frustrated than ever because the system is not working. It's not working for us to be able to help people. And that's why we all went into medicine. Unfortunately, most people have never been taught to be proactive. They've never been taught that osteoporosis is a form of an autoimmune disease. And we keep going back to this sinking ship, hoping it's going to get us to our destination. It simply cannot. And I want you to know tonight that if you are willing to start taking the responsibility and investing in your own health, it's going to pay off for the rest of your life. So if you have not heard of functional medicine, and I know some of you said you already are working with functional medicine provider, which is great. I want to just tell you briefly what that is, and then we're going to dive into this bone health. So functional medicine is a very proactive approach. That means we're not going to sit around and wait till something falls apart. We're going to take action now so that we don't have a crisis. And it's about addressing the whole body and the whole person. The second part that's so important about functional medicine is we ask the question why, not just what. Here's how that looks. You've had a DEXA scan. You've been told you have osteoporosis. That's the what. Well, why? Has anybody ever asked you why you have osteoporosis? I bet not, because probably either your doctors thought or you were told, well, it's because you are menopausal. Now, Susan shared that she was on prednisone. That can certainly be a risk, but why did she get an autoimmune disease that she had to take prednisone for? If you haven't asked those questions, you're never going to find the right answers. So it's about asking the right questions if you want to get better answers. So in functional medicine, we're always asking why instead of what. And we're looking at what we call root cause. Root causes mean the things going on below the surface that you can't necessarily see that are causing the problems, like osteoporosis, or maybe it's poor sleep, or maybe it's belly fat. Whatever the problems is that you can see, we have to dig deep to find the root cause. And this is absolutely the key with bone health. So I bet most of you already know what osteoporosis is. It's a fairly straightforward thing to understand on the surface. It's basically thinning of the bones, which leads to brittle and weak bones. Well, then, of course, that can lead to increased risk of fractures. Well, it's so much more than that. You can see kind of on this slide here, the progression from a normal healthy bone on the left to a bone over here that looks like termites have gotten into it. Well, in a sense, there are termites getting into the bones, but it's not real termites. Don't worry. Let me explain what I mean by that. So if this picture looks a little bit complex, I apologize. There's two slides here that are slightly technical, but they are the key for you to understand how osteoporosis is an autoimmune disease and why you need to take a different approach than just simply a medication. So the process of keeping your bones healthy and strong throughout your life is called remodeling. You see, your bones are made to repair themselves throughout your life, because as we go through life, there's natural wear and tear on the bones that causes weakening or microfractures in the bones, and they become a little bit damaged. And over here, this part that's called resorption, and it's being taken care of by this particular cell type. It's called an osteoclast. These osteoclasts come along, they help remove damaged, weakened, or aged bone. This process is going on all the time in healthy, normal people throughout your life. And following along right behind that are these other important cells called your osteoblasts. And what they're doing is they're making new bone. It's called formation. And then along comes behind that what's called the mineralization. And that leads to a slow, continual progression of new healthy bone being made all the time to replace the older, weakened, worn out, stressed out bone. This process takes place over, on average, about 3 to 4 months. And within the time span of about 10 years, they say that our bones, essentially, we have new bones every 10 years. Now, that's a little bit of a generalization because certain parts of if we're having more damage or stress on some bones, they turn over faster and other bones will last longer. So it's a rough approximation, but this process of what we call bone remodeling, it is the key to maintaining strong and healthy bones. So what keeps bone remodeling in process? And I'm going to try to save some time for questions, but if you're having questions as we go along here, please feel free to type them in the chat because I'm unloading a ton of information. You asked for it. Here it is. So bone remodeling is regulated by your immune system. Did you hear that? Bone remodeling is regulated by your immune system, and it's your immune system that is the key to autoimmune disease. Autoimmune disease is a disease of your immune system. Bone loss, osteoporosis, is a disease of your immune system. This is a key concept, and there is a particular chemical called rankle. Now, this actually stands for, it's an acronym, but believe me, it's easier just to say rankle. This is a chemical messenger that coordinates bone turnover. It coordinates this process between bone resorption and bone formation. It is absolutely a key to keep this process, I call it coupled, because you want those two things to be happening at the same time. It's like, have you ever seen those machines going down the road that are on the front end of this big machine? It's chewing up the old asphalt, and at the back end of the same machine, it's laying down the brand new, smooth, perfect asphalt, and it's going super slow down the road. Well, think of that as the exact same process happening in your bones. And the driver of that machine keeping everything linked together, that's the rankle molecule. Here is the problem. When we take medications like Prolia or Fosamax, they disable rankle and they disable this coupled bone remodeling. If this is not sinking into you how significant this is, let me explain it this way. We no longer are removing the old damaged bone. So temporarily what happens is on a scan or your numbers appear to be going up. Your DEXA scan appears to be getting better because you're no longer removing the old damaged bone. Okay, think about this, you guys. If we're not removing the old damaged bone, can we make new healthy bone and put it in place there? No, we cannot. You have to have this coupling process linked in order to continue healthy bone turnover. So what disables rankle besides medications? Does anyone have a guess as to what might be disabling this coupling process? And I'll give you a clue. One of the biggest factors in autoimmune disease is inflammation. There's your clue. What do you think might be disabling this process of bone remodeling? I saw it. I saw somebody say inflammation, and I'm sorry, I can't tell your name. It says GGBUD1. Yes, it's inflammation. You can unmute if you'd like. Welcome. What is your name?
Christy.
Christy, we're so glad you're here. And that's exactly right. It's inflammation. So I'm going to go back to my slides and tell you, because the easy part is saying inflammation is disabling this process. Well, what in the world do we do about it? Some of you probably know you have inflammation because you have pain, you have swelling, you have joint pain, you have fatigue, you have brain fog. Guess what? All of those things are inflammation. But what's causing the inflammation? That is what we have to find out. And I do not have the time to tell you all of those things tonight. That is exactly why I created this course. So here's how bones become weak. There's either too much resorption going on, or there's not enough formation, or both are happening, which is exactly what we call uncoupling. And the biggest factor is inflammation. And the reason why medications are not the answer is because they disable the coupling process. Larita put a question here. Thank you for this. True or false? You need to drink milk for strong bones. Oh, that is a fantastic question. And I am going to answer that question. So let me, I love it. The countries that have the most osteoporosis are the countries that drink the most milk. You can look this up. You can do your own research. So the answer, Larita, is that's false. You do not need to drink milk for strong bones. In fact, milk is often one of the triggers of inflammation that's promoting this process of inflammation and uncoupling. So that is one of the biggest myths that we've been taught. Guess who taught us that myth? The dairy industry. They had fantastic marketing, because all of you can answer this. Milk, it does a body good. Exactly. That is brilliant marketing, and it is absolutely false. So that is what I'm going to teach you, that and many, many more things in the course, because again, we're already 30 minutes into this, you guys, and I've barely touched the surface. Here's Kathleen's takeaway from doing this course. She said, the big takeaway for me is that I can be proactive. This is excellent information, and I'm sharing it with my friends and family. Now, again, information alone isn't going to help you change your bone health. It's what you do with it. You've got to put it into action. So if you feel like your interest has been piqued and you need some more information and you need to know all the answers, because that's just one question, you need to consider finding somebody that can guide you through the maze of information out there, because it's overwhelming, right? And there's all the information out there, like you have to drink milk to keep your bones strong, which is not true. It is not true. Or that calcium's good for you, or that calcium's bad for you. Well, both might be true. It's dependent on the person and the situation and the type of calcium. There are some types of calcium your body needs and can use, some types that you can't use. You can have too much calcium. You can have the wrong type. Well, how in the world are you going to figure all this out? Well, you might consider finding somebody that has actually done the research and put in the time and cares about it. And that's why I created this course. It's called Healthy Bones, Healthy You. I'm going to tell you the last couple minutes here a little bit about this course. I have a special offer for you guys tonight. And of course, you can always consider working with me one-on-one. I know we have some practice members on, like Valerie and Larita, who's just starting. And I'm so honored to work one-on-one with people, but that's not what this course is about. It's about you being able to get the answers you need without having to come see me or spend a whole bunch of time or money. So let me tell you what's in this course. I designed it to be taken over a 12-week period of time, expecting that most people can commit maybe an hour or so a week and sit down and do this class on like Sunday night or something. You can do it whenever you want. You can do it all in one weekend if you want. You can do it every day for 12 days. I don't care, but there's 12 important modules. Here's what we're going to cover in the course. The first chapter is just how to help you understand, how do you even know if your bones are healthy and why you should care about that. So you'll hear a little bit more about my story and why it's so important to me. And by the way, I did not go on Fosamax when my doctor recommended it. I did another bone scan in 2 years, and my bone density was going up because I implemented everything I'm going to teach you here and that I want you to put into practice in your life. So it absolutely works. I know it does. So in chapter 2, I'm going to go deep onto understanding what your bones are doing and how they work. I gave you just the 2-minute introduction today. Chapter 3, I'm going to start teaching you how to understand all your test results. And it's not just the DEXA scan. A DEXA scan is an X-ray test that's the gold standard for diagnosing, but it doesn't tell you anything about the state of your immune system or your inflammation markers, or even your markers of bone turnover. Did you know that there are tests that can be done that tell you how much bone you're breaking down? That's what I'm going to teach you about in this class, how to understand the overwhelming amount of information and how you can keep track of it yourself. I'm going to teach you what you should eat and not eat. So I'm going to answer that question, Larita, in great detail. And what's going to happen to your son's girlfriend depends on everything else she's doing in her life. So we're going to talk not only about what you should eat, but how to eat it, because most people know they ought to eat more vegetables or maybe less sugar, right? Well, how do you manage that when you work or you have a busy family? Or, how do you plan and how do you prep? We have a whole class dedicated to making sure you can start enjoying and planning healthy eating again. We're going to dive into how to manage stress and sleep. Do you know the number one cause of inflammation that I see in our practice? It's stress. And you can't eliminate stress, but you can absolutely learn how to regulate your system so that it's not creating havoc in your immune system. I've never worked with an autoimmune patient who didn't have a major stressful event before they got diagnosed with the autoimmune disease. It's huge. We're going to teach you how to optimize your stress. In chapter 7, we're going to start teaching you how to help you detoxify your body and your home, because toxins is another huge cause of inflammation. Hormones. Oh my goodness. My second favorite topic. Bones is my number one favorite. Hormones are second, and hormones are so important for bone health. I'm going to teach you not to be afraid of hormones, how to understand what's going on with your hormones and what you can do to help them balance. We're going to talk about the role of exercise and what type of exercise that you should be doing, weight-bearing exercise and vibration. Some of you guys mentioned that at the beginning of our class. They're both helpful, but we're going to teach you and show you how to start doing this in a way that is going to benefit your bones. And yes, I have a whole chapter on what supplements to take, including calcium and which type and how to keep it all balanced. And then when you're not getting better, because sometimes there's even deeper issues, there could be much more serious problems that you may need some help to address. And we're going to touch on each of those so that nothing's left out. And finally, we wrap it all up and help you be able to tie into your why and your purpose for wanting to stay strong and healthy and independent. So, whew, take a breath. That is a quick overview of what this course is like. I'm going to pop up in the chat here a link for the course, and so that you can click on the enroll button right now. But I have a coupon for you guys, and then I'm going to answer all the questions you have. The coupon that I want to offer you guys, we're coming up here on Independence Day, right? And I believe that bone health is all about independence. So when you enroll and you use this code Happy 4th, just like it's typed right there, I'm going to give you 25% off. I'm going to give you 1/4 off the course. The course is $249. So everything we just went through, which you'll have access to as long as you want, and you can do in a day, a weekend, a week, 12 weeks, whatever you want. It's $249. Well, most 15-minute doctor visits now are over $300. So, and you're getting a 25% coupon if you register before July 4. Now, because it's a holiday weekend coming up, and I suspect that many of you already have plans, you're going to be out of town, I'm going to encourage you to do this right now, but you will have until Monday to register. So before I go any further, I'm going to show you one last thing. I'm going to show you one last thing about how you can register if you want, but I want to open the mic or the chat for any questions, because I have a feeling I might have raised more questions than I answered tonight, possibly. So this is your chance. Ask me whatever you need about the course or about what I've shared tonight with bone health. And my hope is that you've been inspired to take action and learn more what you can do. So any questions?
I just want to say that everything you said, I mean, it's everything. I've been searching and looking all the time for a way to get over this autoimmune issue. And it's just, well, you'll have it for the rest of your life.
Oh.
It'll just go in remission now and again. And I'm really tired of it. You know, I just went through a prednisone, started at 60 and went down to 50, 40, 30, 20, whatever you call that. And my numbers are still not okay. And I'm like, how do you keep going? Susan,
I'm so sorry for what you're going through. And I feel you. we have worked with a lot of people, and I can tell you that doing this course will be helpful to you, but we also work one-on-one with people like you. And if you want more information about that, I'm going to pop up our webpage in a place where you can book a free call if you want and talk to Jackie about what we could possibly do to help you, because I work with a lot of autoimmune patients one-on-one. That's not why I was doing this class tonight, but that might be something you want to consider, and you have a chance to just schedule a free call. I'll show you how to, actually, I'll put that on the screen right now. But I just want you to know, Susan, that there are absolutely underlying causes. And when you find and address the root cause, you can absolutely heal and even reverse autoimmune disease. I don't know which one you have, but we've seen people with Hashimoto's and with MS and rheumatoid arthritis and all kinds of things who can have significant improvement. I can't say that you would be cured, because I don't know that, but I've seen people have significant improvement when they learn the underlying causes and start figuring out what to do about them, how to fix those underlying causes. So I want to show you how you could book a free call if you wish. You can go to our webpage, which is thriveandfunctionalmedicine.com. We work with people all over the country. So we're working with people in Idaho and Washington and Wyoming, and you don't have to come to Great Falls to see me, although we'd be happy to see you. But if you go to our website, on our homepage, you're going to see up in the top right-hand corner a little blue box, and it says book a free call. If you click that link, you'll go directly to Jackie's calendar. You can find a spot where she can get on the phone with you and talk about what you've gone through and whether this approach might make sense. And then if it does, we'll help you get ready for a consultation. So it's a very simple process. You can also find a lot of other information on our webpage, including a link to enroll for the bone course if you forget where this link goes to. Jackie also just popped her calendar link into the chat if you want to click on that. Thank you, Jackie.
I don't have a chat on my phone, so I can't see anything, but
Oh, got it.
I don't know how to do that. I'll figure it out though.
Okay. Well, if
Susan,
you can, oh, go ahead, Jackie.
I was going to say, if you would like, since you can't see, I have your contact information from when you registered. I can send you an email.
Okay, that'd be perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
There you go. You can also just call us if you want. Our phone number there's on the screen as well, 406-205-8100. But guys, I want you to know that we're here to help you. If you're curious about what our comprehensive programs look like, they're a lot different than the bone course. I had the very great privilege not only of working with Brian, but also his wife, Patty. And Patty actually did our full lifestyle program. And she said, my only regret is I wish I'd done this years ago, because she said, I'm starting to feel like a functioning human being again. Now, we worked on a lot of issues with her, including inflammation. But it's so much fun to see an entire family getting their health back and turning things around. And it's all about maintaining your freedom and your independence, being able to live your life on purpose. And you can't do that if you don't have your mobility and your independence. So guys, this is about ultimate freedom on your terms, and we are here to support you. You've already stayed on for 40 minutes with me. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to stop my screen share again and just see if there's any other questions. You guys, it's been so much fun to interact with you and see you and be able to talk to you tonight. I've loved it. I hope this was valuable for you.
I have a question.
Yes, Christy. Yes.
So what is your process of finding out the autoimmune problem?
Absolutely.
Blood work or?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that would require working one-on-one with me in the course. It doesn't include the lab testing, but I'm going to tell you what kind of tests you should be looking at. In our program, when I work one-on-one with people like Patty, for instance, we include all the testing and we dive deep into blood testing. We do other testing if necessary. We keep looking until we find the underlying causes, whatever that might be. We help you go through a process of identifying, is it the stress? Is it something in your diet? Is it a hidden infection? I mean, there's a long, long list that I can't tell you, but we go step by step through that process when we're working one-on-one with people in our programs. Our programs on average I'm working with people for 6 to 7 months, and they include everything you need. So it's a much different kind of investment of time and energy and money than the online bones course. But it's a process where we walk you exactly through figuring that out. Does that answer your question?
And you can always find it.
Ooh, that's a good question. So I've been practicing medicine for over 25 years, and I've been doing functional medicine for 5 years. In the last 5 years, I've probably treated close to 500 people. There is not one single person that we have not found multiple issues to work on. However, there are some people that we haven't necessarily found all of the issues. There could still be additional things that I haven't figured out. So I don't know if that answers your question. I've always been able to find things that are going on that we can work on. And sometimes there are some things I just haven't been able to figure out.
Such a mystery.
Most of the time we can figure out some major contributing factors. And when we know that, we can start fixing them, because you can't fix something you don't even know what's going on. And that's the boat that Susan's in right now. She doesn't even know. Well, I might be saying too much, but I'm guessing that's the boat you're in, Susan. Many people are in the boat of saying, well, I've been told I have this, but I don't know why. Don't even know where to start.
Yeah. I didn't get the website to sign up for the Healthy Bones, Healthy You.
Oh, okay. Are you able to see the chat?
I don't know. I see the chat and then I see the number 5. I started to write it down.
There is a link on my website. I'm going to try. Oh, Jackie, can you try reposting that link?
I'm gonna take a picture of it.
I can actually pull up my website. There it is. So it's just a link directly to enroll, but I can show you my website and how to find it there. Would that be helpful on the screen?
Yeah, it started the HTTPS and then / Thriven, and then I didn't get the rest.
Okay. It is in your chat, but I'm going to show you something on the screen. So now on the screen, I'm actually on my webpage, which is thriveandfunctionalmedicine.com. If you can go to our webpage, if you simply hover over the tab that says services,
Okay.
right at the top, you see something that says Thriven FM University. And if you click that very first option, it takes you right to a page to enroll. And we actually have another course too, a detox course, but there's the Healthy Bones course. And if you click on that, it will take you to a little preview and you can enroll from this page as well. There's a preview here of the whole course if you want to preview it from the website.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, you can learn more. You can enroll from here as well if that link is not working for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. And you can use Happy 4th to get 25% off if you do it before Tuesday. So.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, I bet most of you, it's been a long week and a long day and you're ready to call it a day. So we are here for you. If you have additional questions, you can feel free to reach out to us. We want to just help make you be able to be feeling confident and strong and live your life the way you want to. So we're here for you. Thank you so much for joining and participating and letting yourself be seen. It was really fun for me. I hope it was great for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Thanks.
night. Bye.